Hello, everybody. My name is Altan Demirkaya. I'm a manager of global travel and a director at Skull Vancouver. Welcome to the Tourism Talks, where we will talk to business leaders across the globe about the coronavirus, the future of travel and tourism, and some of their own personal experiences through this crisis. Today, I'm very excited and thrilled to introduce my guest, a founder and the CEO of Doitwell and 2019 European Tourism Forum speaker, Nicole Cutrudo. Nicole is joining us live from Rome, Italy. Beautiful Rome. It's great to see you, Nicole. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you, Nicole. Thanks for joining us. Um, Nicole, you are managing and owning a global digital travel uh, marketing agency for the travel companies. So how this crisis affected your business and how do you manage your business during this crisis?
Yeah. So yeah, there is no surprise that we have been impacted by this crisis as everybody. And when you invited me to join this conversation, I was really happy because you said, let's talk about positive things.
Mhm.
And so yeah, what we'll be doing is navigating this crisis as everybody really. And as you know, we have been living in different phases, right? So in different areas
Yes.
of the world. Our team is mostly remote teams of contractors. So they are in different areas of the world. So we have been seeing the crisis from different perspectives. And what we're trying to do is really making smart decisions as a startup, as it is not easy. So let's be honest, that it's not easy time.
Yes.
We see a lot of our clients and attractions and museums struggling, not understanding what is going to be the next future for them when they are be reopening, what will be safe to be reopening again. So
Mhm.
we're really trying to help them and also building trust with the community, like as you're doing, like with our fellow colleagues from all of the industry, all part of the industry. I think building trust right now is really important because once the market will be back, we'll be needing to build up on those business relationships that we
Mhm.
are nourishing right now. So yeah, I mean it's a big crisis, but it's also a good opportunity for a startup.
Yes. So working from home is not new to you and your team, I assume. So,
Yes.
and Italy is one of the first countries that had lockdown in place to flatten the curve. So you have been staying home for quite some time now. So what are some of your best practices working from home? And do you find it efficient?
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, we're used to it. We're a digital company. We support tourism operator worldwide. So we're used to work in different time zones, get confused with different time zones,
Mhm.
and working remotely. Yes. So it's something that I really wanted when I founded Do It Well, like to make sure that we could offer a work environment that is really dynamic and can adjust to the new trends of our needs. Like imagine like people having multiple jobs or probably wanted to focus their time with their family on other things.
Yes.
So that's something very important for us to do it well. And so it is not a surprise working remotely, but it has been a little bit different. So for you asked me like best practices. So maybe
Mhm.
best practices is definitely knowing that we are working remotely, but during a global crisis. So I think showing empathy is really, really important right now. You never know what people are living. They might be
Mhm.
furloughed. They might be having economical issues, or maybe they lost somebody in their family. So right now, it's really important to show empathy and making sure that we are also flexible. Um, Another thing that I had to readjust, honestly, is like setting up goals and
Mhm.
expectations with the team remotely. It's so it's different, and it's also different during a crisis, right? So
Yes.
definitely like being more flexible with that, and trying to influence rather than giving directions or very strict deadlines.
Hmm.
You might not be able to meet some deadlines because something happens, like you're not able to print out a document, something that I encountered last week. I needed to print
Yes.
a document to participate to a beat, and I couldn't because I didn't have ink, and I couldn't find any ink on Amazon. So
Oh,
it was really challenging. But yeah, so being flexible, I think, is really, really important right now.
well, first of all, thank you so much for your positivity, Nicole. And I'm also glad that you guys are still able to work productively during this time. And as you said, this could be very challenging sometimes. I mean, working from home could be challenging sometimes, especially if you have a large family, let's say. And if you have
Yes.
kids, if you have kids, that's a probably different story. And so I'm really missing actually face-to-face meetings, to be honest. And of course, I think, as you said, this is very important. It's very important during this time to build our relationship and check on our clients, existing clients, perhaps, and to understand uh, what they are going through. And so, without a travel demand, it is difficult to expect recovery in our industry. So, what should we expect from our travelers after everything is settled? And I know that you have been working on the survey, the guest experience survey. And so perhaps you can talk about the survey in terms of what was your target market and um, what are the trends right now for
Yeah,
post-pandemic?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so first of all, like whenever like I get this question, I always say that I don't have a crystal ball, right? And
Hmm.
nobody does. It's really challenging to give an answer on, when we'll be seeing international tourists coming back,
Hmm.
and when tourists will feel comfortable traveling again. And I'm sure that you're reading every day new news like airlines are safe, or hotels are implementing new best practices to welcome you and just having a safe check-in experience. Or we're reading so many things, and as we support tourism operators to integrate their offline and online experience, we want to help them to be ready to be back with their guests when they will be back. And I'm sure they will be back very soon. So what we're doing is really creating partnership with other companies, and creating values for our community so that they can analyze what customers and users and guests
Hmm.
are thinking right now.
Yes.
So we have launched an online survey in partnership with a startup in Milan, Dynamitic. They are specialized in artificial intelligence pricing. And together we analyzed the guest perception post-COVID. We asked a couple of questions to our sample, and our questions were all about what are you expecting when you go back and visit a museum, and you go back and visit an attraction, or have fun with your family in a theme park. And our respondents were mainly in Italy. Um, and what we have found, so maybe could be like a trend for, like our listeners and the tourism operators, for them to brainstorm internally with their team,
Hmm.
is that customers and users are obviously be willing to know that they will be having a safe experience. So safety is first, and that's something that you and I will be expecting, right? That safety is the most
Of
important
course.
thing.
Hmm.
But what we got surprised is that they are looking for many, many things. So they're looking for safety. They're also looking for information, and to know a little bit more ahead of time. So think about the booking process, for example. I think that will be changing a lot.
Hmm.
They need more information to build that trust that that experience is safe.
Hmm.
So what we're trying is really to help tourism operators to be ready with their website and having those information that customers and users and guests will be probably looking for. And that's something that we figured out listening to them, and also interviewing tour guides. We interviewed tour guides in Rome, and we met in Rome. Actually, I remember during a conference, a Scout conference in Rome. And the tour guides are really the heart of the experience for many attractions. Like if you visit the Colosseum, for example, you visit it with a guide. The guide is the expert of that topic, is an archaeologist or, like an historian. They can tell you, they can make the history live again, right? So we asked them also, what do they think will be the experience when they will be able to bring guests in the Colosseum or in the attractions in Italy. And yeah, we're learning and ask a lot of questions, and all these findings will be available for everybody on our website. We'll be launching the results, and we were sharing our findings on our website next week. But I think right now it's really important to ask and to study user behaviors and guest behaviors.
Yes, I think this is a great study, so I'm looking forward to check it out once you publish it online, Nicole. And I think, as you said, it's important to know, to understand the needs of the customers and travelers during this time, so we can meet with their expectations. And they are right to feel that way, actually, in terms of the safety and the cleanliness and the disinfection qualities of the supply base. That's been a big concern for the travelers so far, and for all of us, actually. And I feel the same way sometimes. But I know that our industry is working very hard, from ground transportation to aviation to lodging, and the TMCs, the travel agents, tour operators. Everybody is working so hard to set an extremely high standard for reducing the risk of coronavirus in our businesses. And I think it's important to have that standard. The practices in place to achieve that standard are consistent through every phase of travel. So Italy is your home, Nicole, and
yes,
I think the primary market in your business as well. So considering the results, or considering the trends that you are analyzing right now with the survey, were you expecting these results from the travelers, or this was surprising for you?
Well, I was expecting a bit, like the lack of trust. On the other hand, something that surprised us is that two-thirds of the respondents are ready to experience, to go out, to explore, to visit a park within 1 month from, like the date that the government will say that it's safe for everybody to be, visiting. For example, museums in Rome and in Italy will be opening again on May 18th. So the sentiment is positive, and this is something that I wouldn't say that surprised me, but I was happy to see that travelers are looking forward to go back to their normal life and to explore and live their life, obviously. Another thing that we found very interesting is that they appreciated, you've probably seen it, all the tourism operators creating content and engaging their users online. So we have seen like museums opening up the doors, the directors of museums like explaining the rooms and talking about history.
That's amazing. Yes.
And that's been very inspiring. We've seen like lots of traffic in big museums in Italy with those initiatives, and also the respondents of the survey. They recognize that as an added value, and again, something that is building up that trust that I think is really important for everybody to stay connected and be ready to go back when it will be safe to stay together physically again.
Yes. And these are great insights, Nicole. Thank you. And you talked about a little bit what are the expectations from your customers, that the empathy is very important during this time, as you said. So just, I would like to go into the details a little bit more. So what do you think, what is the most important thing your customers need from you right now, in terms of the service and everything?
Do you mean like our clients or
Yes, your
like the
clients.
customer? Yeah.
What is the most
Um,
important thing for them right now?
that's a good question. I always say that they are the expert. So, like a director of a museum, he or she knows how to run his own business. So we are an extended digital team. We're specialized on all like services that like build up communicating online
Mhm.
and engaging with your guests offline and online. But they are the experts. So usually we definitely ask them what do they need. So to answer your question is really like listening to their needs right now and to stay close to what is their vision. Because what I believe is that this crisis will be an opportunity. And after this crisis, you will see probably fewer players, probably, but we don't know. Again, we don't have a
Mhm.
crystal ball. We can expect, but we don't know. But what we know is that whoever will be staying in the industry, they will be having playing a role in defining their identity, in defining their reputation, in communicating what they will be doing, welcoming their guests, what are their
Mhm.
safety procedures and guidelines, and why a guest should be going there. So, for example, we had a conversation with a tour operator in Rome, and we were talking of what would be like the new experience for a traveler visiting Rome. Maybe you don't have that bucket list feeling of having a checklist. I need to go to the Colosseum and the Vatican museums, these biggest attractions. Maybe you won't have necessarily the availability to do it if you don't book ahead of time. We're like brainstorming and we are thinking just out loud, but we were thinking maybe there will be many opportunities to see other smaller attractions that before were not visited just
Mhm.
because we're out of the radar of travelers, and now having to virtual queuing, having to wait more to visit some of the attractions because of lower capacity, you might be able to do more things, you might be able to
Mhm.
explore and to enjoy your visit differently. um,
Yeah.
and another thing I would like to add is like helping our clients to think about a sustainable experience. Because what we have been seeing is that, I don't know if you've been recently in Venice or in Rome or even in, busy parks and attractions.
Mhm.
One thing that you remember is the people, is the emotions, is of course the amazing experiences that you had, but also the queue lines, the crowds.
Yes.
So maybe we just need to think it as an opportunity to do something different than what we were doing before. And I know that maybe somebody who is listening to us right now, are thinking, well, but I don't know if this is going to be profitable, business speaking. Yes, it's a big question mark, but we need to find ways to make it interesting and profitable, and of course, a business opportunity. But there are opportunities.
Yes. And I mean, these are great insights, Nicole. And as you said, we need to accept the reality that there is coronavirus out there, and probably it will be there for some time before we really have a vaccine. And yes, this might change the whole travel experience, the whole tourism experience, in terms of people right now wants to go to the places that are not overcrowded, which is really different than usual, because we like to go to the crowded places. We like to go connect with people. We like to check out different touristic attractions when we go to a new country or new place. But right now, it's going to be different. But I think as a traveler, we need to understand that this is the reality. So as you said, we need to discover those opportunities and perhaps go to the places that we have never been before. And maybe they are not overcrowded, but there are still opportunities to visit these places and discover what they have to offer. I think we talked about business a lot. So how are you managing through this crisis personally? Are you
Yeah.
still able to go out, or how is the situation right now in your city?
We couldn't for a long time. So we
Hmm.
couldn't, like, we could go for a walk, but just for,
That's nice.
like, so for limited space. So it definitely have been like suffering a little bit at the beginning. I was having that, um, like a astronaut feeling of being in a space shuttle and not being able to, to do, to walk, to do whatever I was used to. Or,
Yes.
like I like to travel, as all of us in our
Hmm.
industry. Right? So the change, understanding that something was happening, and then adjusting to this new scenario. Um, right now, yes, I'm moving a little bit more. So, like, since last week, we were able to go out, and I see people in the streets wearing masks. And actually, I can see during this phase one, at least here in Italy, a restart, so a rebirth of the activities. And it's really good to see, like, just people in the street. It was really, I don't know if you've seen some of the videos showing like Rome with drones, with, you can listen to the sound of the fountains,
Yes.
and it was really incredible. And we've seen those scenes in all the cities, so that's something that we'll be telling to our kids, if they won't remember. My son, he's 3 years old. He totally understand what's happening, but I don't know if he will remember it when he will grow older. But we will need to tell that story, and probably this will not be the only crisis that we have, but
Hmm.
it will be a way to get ready for, and be resilient. And I really enjoyed seeing, like, for example, Vancouver. I've seen that you have like the purple lights in support of the hospitality tourism. So, I mean, I am more digitally engaged, for example, in meetings that are not business necessarily. So I was really happy to connect with professionals, and but also with friends from high school, friends that I wasn't speaking since a very long time, and giving the value to time, and to little things, really enjoying the little things.
Hmm. And Italy is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and it was very interesting for, I think, for the whole world to see. I think Italy has been a great example from that perspective, that people were able to connect from their balconies. They were playing their instruments, so it was very interesting and great to see that connection between people. And I'm also a traveler, so I'm really missing to travel. And this has been tough for all of us, for sure, Nicole.
Yeah.
Staying home, and of course we are trying to stay connected with the family and friends. And also, as you said, I think we need to look at the opportunities even during this time. So I think this was an opportunity for me to rethink about what I do, what I should do in the future, and what I can do. Pretty much everything.
Yes.
So I find it a little bit relaxing from that perspective too, to think about my life and everything. So, as I said, Italy is one of the most beautiful countries in the world and a top choice for travelers. So, considering the number of cases in Italy, and this is similar to other highly infected countries, what is your opinion on reopening travel in Italy? Do you
Yeah.
find it early, or basically when can we travel to Italy again?
Well, we hope soon, of course. Again, it's a decision that is out of
Mhm,
our control.
mhm,
What I can say is definitely that we are all expecting a domestic market, right? So I've seen tourism operators, attractions, museums getting ready with their content and their websites in Italian, for example, because some of them, they were not having a translation in Italian because most of their market was for foreigners, of course. So definitely there is a transition in that sense in the content, and getting ready for domestic market. As right now, we are not allowed to travel inter-region, so to go to another region. But obviously, I think the government is having a close look to data and reacting to it on a daily basis. So we are expecting so a domestic market that will probably include also other regions.
Mhm.
And as you've probably seen in the news, we also seen the region, I mean, the European region, thinking on how we can start opening the borders and welcoming visitors and tourists from other countries. Um, I've seen beautiful initiatives. For example, Portugal, they created a label to say when an activity is safe. So I thought this was a great initiative from the Portuguese government, for example. Spain has created a code of conduct for tour guides, which I thought was really inspiring. So we're seeing a lot of initiatives, and I think the more we can build that trust and the more we can start having digital tools like apps or anything that helps us screening travelers when they get to the airports, or as with any transportation, we'll be able to welcome back all the tourists. I know that everybody is looking forward to come back to
Yes,
Italy. Think about Capri, Ischia, all the islands and all the places that are the summer vacation for the ideal summer vacation for European citizens, for example, and of course the international travel. So you, for example, and me coming back and visiting you in Vancouver, we're really looking forward to it. But this is out of our control. We can only think, have in our mind a scenario pre-vax and a scenario post-vax that probably will be accelerating things. And that's all we can do right now. But as a trend, as a general trend, this season will be a very difficult season, of course,
yes.
because we're talking about domestic travel, and then a slow recovery in the next couple of years to get to the volumes that we were doing, before.
Mm.
But again, it's a transition, so probably we'll be seeing different way of traveling and different way also of spending when traveling. I'm sure about that.
Yes. These are great insights again. Thank you, Nicole. And as you said, I think from the business profession perspective, yes, we have our expectations, and but we won't be able to meet with those expectations comparing last year versus this year. I think we need to again accept the new reality. And as you said, there is a recovery period. I think it will take some time, for example, for hotels to meet those occupancy levels again. But I think we need to think about step by step. So it will get better and better. And I'm very positive about the future of our industry. And as Levon mentioned during our live stream a week ago, she said that we are still going to be able to travel, but we will be able to travel differently.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time that we are experiencing a crisis as travel and tourism industry. And we will overcome this, just like what we overcame before. And nothing can avoid us traveling again unless we take certain precautions.
Yeah.
And so, where would you travel first after all of this?
Well, that's a good question, because I can have my answer and I can have my family answer.
Okay.
So, in my family, the decision maker is my son. So I think right now, probably a top destination will be Paris. He's always asking me to go to Paris, and because he
Nice.
wants to go to play in the parks. But for me, I would like to visit. Probably I will come to Canada. I really need to be in the nature. So I'm imagining like having a vacation, hiking and being in the nature. That's something that's yeah, will be on top of my mind. But again, the decision maker is
Is
Leonardo
the
here.
family. Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys are considering coming to Canada, and we are looking forward to having you here. And yes, this is a good place to be close to the nature, and I'm sure you guys will have fun. Um, so before we go, Nicole. Lastly, I would like to take your message. Do you have any message for our industry or our viewers? And I know that you do some studies on the women and entrepreneurship and empowerment of women. So, do you have any message to our industry?
Well, message could be something that I've been told from somebody who I really, really take as an example in my career is definitely never waste a crisis. And that's something that in startups we always say because we take a lot of risk, we try a lot of things. Lots of the things are not working, and that's fine. And I think like right now, we all need to take risk. We all need to work very hard for the recovery. We might be doing jobs that we don't even imagine right now. I'm seeing people doing things that I would have never imagined that they will be able to do. So I think that what will be pushed to be doing is really taking opportunities, maybe reconnecting with why we do things, what is our dream, what we wanted to be doing, like you said, like investing in our self development, but also like networking, connecting, taking inspiration, see what are the gaps, where you can create a tool that can solve an issue in the industry, and create a new path. And then you said women empowerment. Yes, of course, that's something that is really important to me, and I think it's important to all women. And right now, this crisis is impacting everybody, but it's impacting mostly women and minorities. And so that's something that we need to take into account. And maybe I would like to suggest to anybody in this call, when you start hiring again, when you start creating a team, try to listen to and to have in your pool women and minorities, because we need those opportunities. We need it more. And right now that we are struggling, also financially speaking, you will see a lot of women that probably are staying at home because nobody is staying, they don't have a way to keep their kids, for example, or most of the women are part-timers, unfortunately, in many countries, and in Italy is definitely that's the majority of part-timers are women. And so when you need to make a choice, which salary are we cutting? You might be cutting the part-timer and not the full-timer who is a man. So definitely my recommendation is your rise and your lift. So try to help those people to get back into business, because the diversity is really the key of success. And I don't need to explain why. We all know that. And I think this moment is a moment really to think on how to make growing a business differently. Maybe growing is not necessarily what a business need to do. I mean, maybe we'll be finding a new definition for it, diversification, doing something different than we were doing before. So I think those are will be my advices for my 5 cents to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And I would like to say that as travel and tourism professionals, we will adapt to, and we are adapting to those changes, and we will, and this is our passion. We will work very hard to provide the best solutions to our travelers, to our clients, no matter what. And this is
Yes,
what we are here for. And so that will be my message to our industry. So I would like to take the questions from our audience. So let's give it 5 minutes to receive the questions, Nicole.
please.
I know today is a Saturday, so some people are probably on the road. I know we are still practicing social distancing, but here we can go outside. So as long as we practice social distancing, I know most of my friends are now on their way to Whistler, which is a 2 hours drive from Vancouver. So it's a beautiful place. So
Nice. Sounds amazing.
they send their regrets for not being able to join us.
You can probably see it. I can't, I don't know how to
Oh,
see it.
you mean the questions?
Yeah.
You can see them as long as they post it in the live stream. Let's wait a couple of minutes.
I think we have one question.
Yes.
How do you picture cinemas, hotels, museums, entertainment parks? Oh, sorry. I cannot read it anymore.
Okay. So how do you picture cinemas, hotels, museums, entertainment parks opening again, and how logistically?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very good question, and I think this will be a very good exercise for all the operational teams in theme parks. So talking about theme parks, let's take the theme park example. This will be obviously a big change, something that we already experienced with 9/11, right? When you have a crisis and you need to enforce safety procedures at the entrance or inside the park. So that changed dramatically whatever you're doing, and that create also opportunities to train and to create new procedures, and checking those procedures that they are implemented and making sure that the guests are feeling safe. So I think to answer this question, as also we have more than one attraction, and cinemas, hotels, museums, yeah, they're all different. So it really depends on the local regulations. So, for example, we work with clients in different areas of the world, and the regulations might be different, and also cultures might be different. So I really think that the key to be reopening is to be complying to those regulations first, and probably going above and beyond. So really studying what customers are looking for when they go back to a movie theater, for example. What is preventing them to book a ticket and go and watch their favorite movie? So definitely, I think there is a need for research to understanding what are these expectations, and then implementing them operationally, so on the ground and online. So, for example, making sure that the attractions have the content ready to answer those questions, and the team ready to get the questions of the customers that they need to feel safe to go back. But I see that as a very close reality. We see lots of attractions reopening in Asia. We'll be discussing about some of the trends and best practices that we've been seeing around the world in a webinar we'll be conducting with my team next week. And we've been seeing like big attractions that are reopening, for example, in Asia. And definitely we know that, for example, in the United States, we also have areas that, you know, probably more commercial areas rather than theaters or, you know, theme park opening. But there are soft openings. I think it's a moment right now to really put in place the regulations, train the team, and then test. There is a need of testing new procedures. And then I seen probably in the audience there was somebody from transportation company. That's a sector that I'm very curious to see, because I mean, if we don't have the transportation safe and perceived as safe, it will be a big problem for all the attractions, right? Because we need the transportation to get back in business as soon as possible. And I'm very, very inspired to see all the creative solutions. I've seen, for example, bus transportation changing and creating like reusable curtains to, you know, create a barrier between passengers. And I don't know, like I've seen like robot being used, or, you know, like really being creative and changing the way of welcoming guests. I've seen airlines having, you know, uniform completely covered with transparent protections, so that you can see the style and the brand of the uniform, but you feel safe. because you know that the uniform is covered, so you are still protected. And then I seen like mask. I don't know if you've seen those. Like there was a doctor, I think in New York, he was thinking that having a mask on your mouth was not showing your smile. And if you
Yes.
think in the guest experience and in the interaction with guests, how it's important to smile. And I've seen, for example, like a transparent mask so that you can
Mm.
see the smile of people.
Yes.
So I mean, sky's the limit there, but definitely to answer to that question, let's wait for the regulations. Let's wait to the reopening, and then I'm sure that the single attractions, because all of them have different rules and procedures, will be taking the safest decision to reopen again soon when it will be safe.
Yes. And I have also seen the doctors putting their smiley pictures on their uniforms as they are not able to show their
Yes.
faces. I think it's all about creativity right now. And so the second question was, Nicole, do you think that people will feel more comfortable in structures as bed and breakfast instead of classic hotels? Um,
Well,
I can also answer to that questions after
oh
you.
yes, that's true because
No,
you
no,
are
please go ahead
actually the
first.
well. I've seen something that might be helping us to answer this question. Here in Italy, we had an hackathon for tourism last week that gathered lots of really professionals, students to create creative solutions to welcome tourism again. And one of the initiatives, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the group, I would like to mention them, was really to convert the bed and breakfast, because that question is for B&B structures to welcome domestic travelers. So imagine most of the people who are still working, so that they can still working remotely, they will be working from home for a long time, right? So they could totally be on a beach or in another region. And this group in that hackathon created actually like a product, so reconverting their website, etc., to have long stay. So like a stay, for example, a 1 month for professionals. So they were adding up services like strong Wi-Fi connections, printers, all things that a professional will be needing to stay for a long stay in another, in a place that is actually better for sceneries or for nature, targeting the domestic travel. So I thought that was really inspiring. I don't know if people will feel more comfortable. I think we should be needing to research what we define for comfortable, because comfortable for me and you can be a different thing.
Different,
So
yes.
definitely studying what will be comfortable for each target will be good to answer that question. But I think that might help us to see that there might be an opportunity again to tackle some of the targets, like for example, business professionals who are long staying.
Yes. And we know that the travelers are really concerned about the safety and cleanliness and the disinfection qualities of the hotels, airlines, the supply base basically. And there will be some changes on the supplier evaluation process. So all the hotels and pretty much all the businesses in our industry are again working very hard to set an extremely high standard for reducing the risk of coronavirus in our businesses, in our hotels. I know that there is a little bit demand right now on the boutique hotels
Mm.
versus large hotels with a large number of rooms. But to me personally, I still feel comfortable staying in the large hotels as long as they take certain precautions. I think it's all about the safety and cleanliness,
Yeah.
quality of the hotel. I think which is very important. And as you said, I think we will see more money being invested on the technology to create a contactless experience for the guests. For instance, once you check in into the hotel, maybe you won't be well. There is actually technology out there. I know that some hotels are doing that already, but I think maybe we will see more hotels going ahead with this kind of technology that once you go into the lobby, you won't even need to check in at the front desk. Everything will be through
Yeah.
your app. So you will go to your room. You won't need a room key, so you don't need to touch any surface. But I think, in our industry is shaped based on the travelers' demand and the needs. And I know that large hotel chains, they have large number of different brands in their portfolio, from boutique to upscale, from upscale to, so they have different offerings. So I think we
Yeah.
will see what will be the trend. But right now, I think it's all about cleanliness. Yeah, so let's see. We have one more
And
question.
something that you just said, Altan, is that there will there will be the need of a lot of smart talent to find those solutions.
Yes.
Again, this is a moment that we are forced to do a faster digital transformation for some activities and in whichever field. So, like you said, when you mentioned contentless, absolutely. I mean, there are many attractions that are already doing that, like already offering a contentless experience, but not all the industry is able to invest in those solutions, right? So there might be like ways to do it smarter, meaning like also investing less resources. Again, when there is a crisis, you find a way to turn around an obstacle. So I think there will be like opportunities to make this digital transformation a bit faster for everybody. And the companies will need a lot of talents right now to reimagine, to dream, to have the vision, and then to implement. Because you and I who work in the industry, we know that you can set up the most beautiful strategy, but then if you don't have the right people to implement it, then
Mhm.
I mean, you cannot say that this is a successful plan. So I'm really looking forward to see our industry hiring and scouting the best talents to do it, or company to support them to enhance and to make this transformation even easier and efficient.
Yes, I agree with you, Nicole. I think we can take one more question, the last question before we go. So the question is what OTA can do to help hotel and tour operator.
Yeah, good question. I think OTAs can do a lot because OTAs, online travel agencies, for those who don't know the meaning of the word, um, are the ones who has challenged the sector. You remember probably like Expedia, Booking.com at the very beginning, small startups, then growing up, and uh, and building up this digital transformation in tourism, right? So I really think that they can do a lot because OTAs have lots of know-how. They know how to reach the market. They have the availability to invest and centralize those investments where their studies and their data will tell them that it's more efficient and profitable for all the stakeholders. So I think they can do a lot to help. And I also believe that they can do right now. So we've been seeing some OTAs, for example, helping tourism operators to face this crisis. I think they can do even more. Like there is a need right now to take care of all the stakeholders. When I mentioned, for example, the tour guides at the beginning of our chat, uh, I think that OTA's product managers or whoever is, like in charge of this rebirth project, they need to talk with each stakeholder. And we know that in tourism we have so many stakeholders. So, but we need to hear all these voices and match those needs with data. and OTAs can bring a lot of that know-how. So I think they will play a big role. And also when it comes to supporting talents, I've seen yesterday Airbnb, for example, creating an area in their website to show the curriculum and the expertise, not the curriculum, but the name and the highlights of the people who has been furloughed, unfortunately. I thought that was really something
Mm-hmm.
very nice.
Interesting. So I think we are good to go. Nicole, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing valuable insights with us today. I truly enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure our audience also enjoyed our conversation. It was very informative. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Altan, for inviting me, and thank you, everybody, for listening to us. And let's keep in touch.
Thank you. So thank you to
Thank you.
everybody for watching us. Please continue to watch our live streams on Instagram. Thank you. Stay safe. Be well. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.